Welcome back, Pathfinders. You are about to hear lots of information from someone who played this game all 7 days of the beta, made over 70 videos in 7 days, and committed themselves to becoming an Aniimo-only content creator. Now, again, these are only my opinions, and I'm looking at this as analytical as I possibly can without being biased towards just my overall like for the game. So first of all, everybody who saw the trailer of the game did not expect a beta so early, especially with no content in between the trailer and the actual beta. None of us saw gameplay. This was given to us out of nowhere, and I had no expectations of anything other than from what I saw from the extremely polished trailer. So my final thoughts in one sentence is surprisingly beautiful and unexpectedly deep for a beta. Now we're gonna go more into this. There are good things, there are bad things, and there are things that, you know, aren't so bad. But I'm here today to break down all of those things, and if you have any questions, please do drop them down below. So I would say my first impressions upon seeing the trailer is, oh, you know, it looks like a Pokemon clone, kind of like Pow World or something like that. The visuals reminded me of Genshin Impact, Breath of the Wild, Honkai Star Rail. I was really cautious because although Pow World is kind of cool, it just feels very knockoff-ish, very great value. There's a lot of styles and overall designs that look like almost an exact replica of Pokemon. So going into this game, I kind of expected something of the same caliber. I was expecting generic, but I was curious because who doesn't love a good monster taming game? So I would say in general, what stood out the most in this beta is the Aniimo designs. They were unique, expressive, and definitely full of personality. I found myself favoring different Aniimo. I found myself not really caring for certain ones. And I especially wanted to travel around the world more and to find different Aniimo, especially when I found that there were different variants. There is a large handful of Aniimo that have different variants. There's some Aniimo that have 4 different variants. Though they are the same species, they have different elemental types and different appearances as well. I think another really beautiful thing well done in this game is the Aniimo NPC quests. The fact that you can do quests as an Aniimo, and whenever you twine with them, you essentially are them, you speak like them, and you're able to do quests for other Aniimo around the world. So this really made me develop some sort of admiration for certain Aniimo, and seeing their story develop in the way that they did. I would say that there definitely needs to be some sort of voice acting for the Aniimo. Like, I don't need to hear them speak English, but maybe some sort of noise, kind of like how Animal Crossing does their talking. Just something to kind of fill the void of silence, and really something to give you more connectivity with the Aniimo around you, especially if you're doing quests with them. This beta is the most amount of content I've ever had in my entire life of playing video games. There's over 50 Aniimo that could be captured. There's shiny variants. I literally got to level 48, I think, out of the max, which was 50. There were so many different zones. I think more than 5 different zones that you can explore. Not only were we able to catch a whole bunch of Aniimo and see all the variations, we were able to experience some of the in-game stuff like Prismana, flows, spawning rare and unique Animos, being able to try the home trial and actually get to level 9. There was just so many things we were able to experience. We were able to experience some of the multiplayer aspects of the game, which we'll go into more here shortly. Cooperative battles, roguelite type combat and modes. I just didn't expect something so vast, all packed in one single beta. The exploration was fantastic, though I would say having too much freedom is kind of a bad thing. I think a lot of us get wrapped up into having an open world experience, but honestly, too much freedom can feel almost a bit limiting. I don't know what kind of system they could implement to kind of guide us better, but I was kind of just running all over the place looking for Aniimo, which was really, really cool, don't get me wrong, but there was something about it that I felt like I needed more of a purpose rather than just going out in the world and trying to capture Aniimo. Now, one of the biggest places that stood out to me in this game was the Sea of Flowers. The music was so nostalgic, and I've never even been there. I've never even heard the music before. but it really stood out seeing all of the flowers flow, looking up into the sky, seeing the Aniimo go back and forth. It was just such a meaningful place. And I remember reflecting when I was there, just thinking, wow, this game is definitely something else. And it might be because my expectations for the game were low, but I know at that moment, I felt some excitement, something that I hadn't felt about a video game in a really long time. There is something in this game where you can cycle between day and night, and honestly, I feel like that should be something that you don't fast track, because you can go to a rest zone, change it to the morning, or change it to the night. I feel like we should have night and day naturally happen. That way things just feel more meaningful. And I understand some people would probably rather be able to toggle it on and off, but it's kind of like Pokemon playing Silver and Gold for the first time and accidentally evolving your Eevee to an Espeon or an Umbreon. Like, you didn't even realize that it happened during the night and day, and it just kind of blew your mind. So I think having something like that would be really cool, and it just keeps everybody in the same zone of playing. Like, oh man, it's nighttime, we can't do this right now, let's just wait till this time or something like that. And of course they could be sped up, that way we're not using real life time, and not all of us have time in the morning or time in the night to play. So definitely something that doesn't mimic our real life time. On top of that, there are weather anomalies and conditions that can happen in certain areas that will spawn different variants of Aniimo. So you can have a normal water type be both normal and lightning type because you found them in a lightning storm. Now, not all of them have different variants, but it was cool to see. I would say the only negative thing about that is waiting for that weather effect to happen, because sometimes it felt like you were waiting forever, and then you have to go find the Aniimo in a certain special place because they are a special variant. They're not just like one of those common ones that are popping out of everywhere. I do know that whenever I was playing the game and skimming areas, that I didn't find Aniimo that were on the Anilog. Even though it was saying defeat the alpha version of this Aniimo, I just didn't see them on the map ever. But whenever I started actually looking and digging into places, like finding caves and using my tunnel ability to go under things, breaking rocks and climbing, you're actually able to find these alphas that were hidden away. And I thought that was pretty cool. The fact that it was actually hidden and you had to really explore to find these Aniimo was fantastic. I wish I had a little bit more direction, but there are notes from researchers and other travelers that they can leave, kind of like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, where you can leave a message for a friend on the floor. So there were some helpful hints that got me through these things if I was skipping dialogue, which honestly, the dialogue was skipping itself. It was so freaking fast. But not only that, I'm a native English speaker and it was still too fast for me. So I can't imagine anybody that English was their second language, and I'm sure they were struggling as well. That's something that also needs to be looked at and definitely tweaked. So something that really stood out to me is the catching system. It 100% needs work. The percentage chance on the pods feels way too close to Power World. Backstabbing Aniimo for multipliers, it's really only beneficial if you have a certain variant of an Anipod that is a higher tier, because if we're catching them unexpected and they're a higher level Aniimo, but you're using a lower level pod, you're looking at like a 13 to 15%, which you might as well just not waste your Anipod. So you're either going to have to use a bigger Anipod and still risk it jumping out of your Anipod, or battling it and wasting, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes trying to capture it. I just feel like there needs to be a better flow with the capturing system, especially when they're sleeping. I feel like it should be 100% catch rate sleeping, or if not, at least something like 80 to 100%. In general, I just feel like the catching needs to be more consistent. I thought the tumbler pods were really cool. The little AoE sheep ball. It's very creative, but it's also inconsistent. Sometimes I'll catch 2 out of 10. Sometimes I'll catch 8 out of 10. You know, I just never knew whether or not it was worth using. Like, should I use this tumbler that I only have a little bit of, or just mass catch them on my own? Alpha creatures. That is harsh. Not only do you have to defeat the alpha, but you only have 1 attempt to capture the alpha. Once you throw your Anipod, that's it. So you're either going to use the 100% top tier Anipod, or risk the 9 to 10 to 5% Anipods that you have in your inventory. It's just a strange concept to me when we can capture other Animos out in the wild and in multiple attempts when we only have 1 for the alpha. I get it. Listen, they're supposed to be strong. They're supposed to be rare. But I captured more sparkling than I did catching alphas with normal pods. I caught 1 alpha with a normal pod at an 8% chance. I just feel like that alone says a lot. I think I caught 4 or 5 sparklings and only 1 alpha. And I tried to capture them all at least once with a normal pod. I went back and fought him and used the bigger tier for the 100%. But I don't know, maybe I'm just a big fat weenie baby. I just think that there needs to be a better way to go about this. The Anipods also can be purchased from vendors, but there's a weekly cap. A weekly cap, that is insane to me. It made me really, really reluctant to catch other Animos because I didn't want to waste them anymore. I didn't want to waste it and then miss out on an Animo that I don't have yet. I had so much money, but I had nothing to spend it on. At least allow me to buy as many Anipods as I can possibly buy. And then being able to upgrade your Anipods, for every 2 Anipods you have, you can upgrade to a higher tier. I just felt like it was very wasteful, and there certainly could be something better in place than that. I want catching to feel skillful, strategic, and rewarding. I don't want it to feel like a lottery. Combat system, I think we have a solid base. We have a normal attack, which is your primary fire. You have 2 different skill sets, and then you usually have an ultimate if you're on the last form. You also have blitz attacks, which is a 3-form ultimate team attack. It's not too bad. It's a little bit button mashy, but in reality, it's also not, because you actually have to dodge. You have to move out of things. You have to get out of environmental effects. And if you don't, you're probably not going to have a very good time. Alpha fights felt a little bit too long. I felt like their health bars were a bit excessive, and they were very, very prone to reset. They would often run out of bounds, and then they would run back to the middle and reset their health entirely, while you're just there bleeding out of your mouth, having to run away because you just wasted 15 minutes fighting this alpha. It got really frustrating really quickly, and I really do hope we see a fix for this coming into the next beta. Team synergy was definitely fun, you know, creating a loadout of Animo and it actually making a difference in how your fight went. But again, the HP pools for the bosses were very, very bloated. Even when I was level appropriate, things felt like they took forever. Which brings me to my next portion, evolving and leveling. What is going on there? Why are we having to ascend our Animo to unlock level 20 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 35? I just don't understand why we needed to add something like that. Is it because they're going to hit us with microtransactions to buy resources? I hope not. A moment of silence for if that does happen. I saw it and I immediately thought about mobile games. I was instantly disgusted and I didn't want to see it, but that's what we were looking at. We were looking at the potential paywall of this game, because those same resources to ascend my Animo are the same resources that I need to evolve my Animo, and they're not easy to get. You have to defeat alphas, and the alphas are just so time consuming. Animo, if you can hear us, if you're watching this video, please, I beg you. The leveling system, the ascension system, we need to fix it. I want to be able to have my time rewarded based on the things that I do in the game and not how much money I can spend. In general, the combat had some style, but the grind felt like a free-to-play trap just waiting to happen, and I am horrified of that. The research and leveling felt pretty rewarding. I found myself wanting to catch other Animo and immediately looking at their research and getting busy on finishing them out. We had a lot of cosmetic rewards for each Animo, and it made me excited. It made me excited to find these cosmetics through these Animo. I wanted to catch them for gameplay reasons, research, bonuses, skills, etc. And that type of incentive is the best incentive, just to play the game and have fun. The multiplayer and social systems need work. They need it. I was really excited to see that they existed in the game, but man, oh man, do they need some polishing. The co-op was exciting, but it was very bare bones. It was cool to see another Pathfinder fight alongside with me, but as I said, it was very clunky. To be able to type, you push enter and it opens up this big visual box, and it was just too much to deal with. We need like hovering words above our characters or a little chat box on the bottom left like other MMOs have. We just need a cleaner UI. Also, it would be amazing to have some sort of proximity chat coming into the next beta or the official launch, because I kept finding myself asking, hey, do you have Discord? Would you rather talk there? Instead of using the actual in-game thing. We need chat system designed for real players. And I think having that will really set aside this game from other games of the same genre. I think having guilds or parties or some sort of shared hubs would be amazing for this game. That way, if we make friends, you know, we can kind of invite them to our community and further progress through the game together. And if you don't want to, great, have that single player experience, but it would just be nice to have an option. Now, again, I know this is a beta, so there's going to be glitches and things like that, but often my Animos would be dying from puzzles. Like, they would flip upside down like a dying cockroach. I was drowning in shallow water because of no stamina, even though I could definitely walk. I was constantly falling through the floor. And when I mean falling for minutes on end. Of course, yeah, I could have clicked my map and fast traveled, but usually I would start lagging out and then I couldn't fast travel. So I'd have to Alt 4. The alpha boss resets were killer. I had to fight Inferno like 4 times because it glitched out on me multiple times. I don't want to focus on staying in the middle of the arena. I want to focus on beating the boss. Some of the jump pads and little lily pads, they weren't really functional at sometimes. Sometimes you would bounce really well, and sometimes you would just come to a complete halt as if you were bouncing on some concrete. I expected bugs, and honestly, the bugs weren't as bad as they could have been, but I do feel like this next beta needs to emphasize on the multiplayer community chat aspects, because I think that's where this game is going to shine the most. The music overall was really good. It was beautiful. It had a nice, peaceful, nostalgic feeling. The ambience was really there. Some of the alpha fight tracks were kind of bad though, like Scorchow was excessively bad, especially comparing it to the rest of the music. It felt like I was listening to a Home Depot soundtrack or something. It just wasn't good. So definitely need to add some consistency in the music, especially the alpha fights, because we're there for such a long time. We need something more meaningful and similar to what we are fighting. I also noticed some audio loop gaps, which kind of killed immersion. So if you're in an area for a long time, you would hear the song that would play for 2 minutes and you would hear a definite audio halt. And then when the audio started again, there just needs to be a better transition in between the loop, or I don't know, add something else. But I will say the music did do a lot of heavy lifting when it played. The ambience was definitely being made. Now, we do have a video that we made for player feedback where you could comment, and I sent that link to the devs so they could read the comments. And I also copied and pasted all of the comments in the surveys that we had during the live beta test. I think in general, the Aniimo community was really welcoming and everybody was really excited. We did have some sour people that didn't get invited that were very loud about their sourness, which is understandable, but still, let's get real, everybody. We all want to play this game, and there are other opportunities. There's no need for toxicity, right? The game definitely needs better shared places and spaces for people who want to play together. Would love to see more co-op content, raids, bosses, modes that you can do alongside with your friends, team PvP, you name it. All of these things would really go well together in a game like this. Having an emphasis on community would really fill the gap that other monster taming games do not have. Now, my biggest concerns, and I would say all of our biggest concerns, are microtransaction is at a extreme high risk. Ascension mats, pods, cosmetics, you name it. I do not want to deal with the convenience factor. Like, oh, I don't want to wait for my egg to hatch. Let me add a speedy incubator to this, which gives me 90% speed on my incubator, but costs me $1. Like, I don't want that. You know, I want to work and my work be meaningful and rewarding. If the model to this game is going to be free to play, I can guarantee you the player base is going to be cut more than half. Not half, more than half. Now, I know there will be people who will play this game despite that, but we will feel the fatigue and people will be dropping off like flies. I do not, and I repeat, I do not think that model is going to win the fan base. It's going to kill it. It's going to kill us. It's going to kill me. I would prefer this game to be a full $60 release with the DLC over time than a gacha style pay to progress any day, all the time. In fact, I would even take this game as a subscription-based game, just like World of Warcraft or something like that. I just do not think that adding the elements for a free-to-play game in this game of enormous quality is a good idea. In fact, I am grossing myself out just talking about it. My final impression of the game is it's the most complete beta I've ever played. It feels like phase one of something much larger. This is a solid foundation. If the devs continue to focus on the system and stay away from free to play, I think we're in a real realm of success and a real competitor for the Pokemon franchise. All in all, I had a lot of fun playing this game, but I know we're all hoping for the same thing: no microtransactions. And that is all, my fellow Pathfinders and future Pathfinders. If you're interested in more Aniimo content, I am an Aniimo-only content creator. We do have a Discord. Please do check the comments or description. Until next time, sayonara. Bye-bye.